Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shambles United podcast. This is your host, Pranav Shahaney, and here we are today discussing what's probably the darkest day of our season. We reached the Europa League final, and unfortunately, at the last in the penalty shootout, we messed it up. It went the distance, it went all the way to 21 kicks, but eventually, Hea missed the penalty and we lost it. But I personally, I didn't want to discuss the final because it bring back too many bad memories. But you guys told me to do it, so here we are. And today I'm joined by three guests. I'm joined by Yash Shah, by Shorts, and by Karan Advani. So I'll start with you, Yash. You tell me, how did you perceive the final? Tell me, at what minute did you fall asleep and what minute did you wake up, because it was really a trap game.
Yeah, it was really a drab game, but at the same time, it also, it was the game that highlighted all of the issues that we've been talking about throughout the season. So, we didn't play against a low block. We don't really have creative wingers. We need a good CDM, and again, we conceded another set piece goal. Lindelof getting caught again by Moreno. And yeah, the whole goalkeeping conundrum, it goes on. It's going to go on over the summer. So yeah, it just highlighted all of the issues that we have in our squad and some of the issues that we've highlighted in Ole as well. So really bad in-game management, making the first sub at 106 minutes, and that to bringing Fred on instead of and keeping Donny on the bench for the entire 120. So yeah, overall a really bad day, bad game, and we just bottled it yet again.
Exactly. I mean, it took us 100 minutes to make our first change, and what we did was we got Fred on instead of Mason Greenwood. So one of our attacking players were off, and we got on Fred, and that's okay if we are up by 2 goals or 3 goals, or even by 1 goal if it's the last 5 or 10 minutes. But that decision really I didn't understand, and I also didn't understand why did we wait that long to make a change when we saw that the team was tired. I noticed that in the second half, we weren't even pressing. We were just sitting back, letting them have possession for the first 10 or 15 minutes. And that is not how we should have approached this game. It wasn't. We aren't playing against a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich or a Man City or one of those sides where we have to be that way. We have to be assertive and just take the game by the scruff of the neck. What do you think, Shorts? What was wrong? Because I think the first half wasn't too bad, but the approach to the second half I think was horrendous.
I absolutely agree. See, first off, we started off really well. Then what happened was that we were not dragging out players like off from their formation, and which we were relying on. That basically we thought that Cavani would actually scuttle a lot of their back line,
Yeah,
and we could drive up. In fact, we were driving so high that Bissaka was in the opposition's half more often than not, and
exactly.
that's a very rare sight to behold.
Hmm.
Although I think Rashford was very poor,
Yeah,
uh, him and Luke Shaw couldn't link up at all. That we generally have banked upon them a lot. Bruno was non-existent until the second half when he was actually coming back, because when he was there in say in the like before the final third, he was not able to get a lot of space to get the ball, receive the ball, and then drive it off like he usually does.
yeah.
But when he was actually coming back and helping Pogba in the second half, things looked a little brighter, and we scored that goal. Cavani scored that goal as well.
Hmm.
But I thought a lot of our players actually couldn't handle the pressure. They were too nervy. Uh, Ole did a masterful bottle job. Um, no subs. I don't know what was he thinking. If he could have at least gotten, say, even a player like Daniel James, who could have run rings around the Villarreal defenders.
Yeah,
I mean, Raul Albiol is so old, and Foyth was only seeing through one of his eyes.
exactly.
I mean, things could have looked much different. In fact, today there was a tweet which was shared from the podcast group itself. Sorry, podcast Twitter account itself. It was clearly mentioned that we overachievement for quite a long time, and
Yeah,
it was very evident from this match as well. Like we
absolutely.
remove our first 11. That's not the case. That only at least the manager should show a little more faith in his result.
Exactly. I mean, we made a total of 5 changes in the game, and 4 of our changes came after the 116th minute. So I don't know what the purpose was to get players on for the last 4 minutes of the game. Because if Ole had a plan and that didn't work out, then I'm sure that he should have changed players earlier on. And we had Danny Van de Beek as an unused substitute. And Karan, I know you've talked a lot about his impact and why he's not been given the chances he's got. But do you think he was the kind of player who could have maybe unlocked something and helped share the creative burden with Bruno, because I felt that he was getting too isolated, and maybe if we had another player who's as creative and as mobile as Bruno, maybe something else could have happened.
Yeah, for sure. I think this was a game that was made for Van de Beek. Like
Yeah,
saw likes of Carlos Bacca and Gerard Moreno in our attacking third more than their own.
yeah,
So it was one of those games where we really needed to either put put up a couple of 1-2s and get into the box with some combination play, or else have a player who was positionally aware to a limit where he knows the players that are making the runs in and around him. And in my opinion, I feel Van de Beek is the player who is the most positionally aware guy in the box, because he looks twice before making a pass. He doesn't spend too much time on the ball. And if we wanted to break down such a low block, especially with the likes of Paul Albiol and Pau Torres, who aren't known to be the fastest defenders in the world, uh, we could have definitely exploited their weaknesses. And one fight, like Shot said, was looking to one eye. He had a head injury, and we couldn't trouble him for the entire game. So Van de Beek definitely had to come on, and there's no excuses whatsoever when it comes to not bringing him on for 120 minutes. Uh, I would have understood the argument last season, at the back end of last season after Project Restart, where we didn't have the squad depth, we didn't have the quality to put players on and impact the game. But after Ole spent 35 million pounds on a player like Van de Beek, where he is a, where he's somebody who has Champions League experience, who's played the big games, who's done well for Ajax, and who has definitely shown us what he could possibly do for United. So if you don't bring him on for 120 minutes, there's really no excuses for Ole. Like I don't sympathize with him. I usually do, but this time around I definitely don't.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, not to take away what he's done and the way he's taken the club in the right direction, but these are the kind of games where you've got to prove yourself, and it's not like we were playing a superior opponent. This was an opponent, by all due respect to them. We should have won this game easily. So I think it's finally time that we say that Ole really needs to change these kind of things fast, because okay, he's brought about a lot of good things, but I mean, what was he doing? These are the kind of moments that separate you from being a good manager to a great manager. And Ole is not going to learn this and never going to reach that great level. What do you guys think about it? I mean, what else could he have done apart from make early subs? Do you think he got his the team selection wrong? Do you think we are too reliable on players like Maguire and Bruno? What is going on?
But like you mentioned, Ole is definitely a good manager. He's taken United towards the summit. He's closing, he's like lessened the gap between the leaders and us. But it's been no secret that Ole has been learning on the job. Uh, from day one, has brought, he's been a breath of fresh air. He's really improved the morale of the players working under him. And overall, we've just become a better team in a lot of senses. But like you rightly said, to become a great manager, he really needs to understand the significance of these crunch games
Yeah.
on how to impact the momentum in games where you might not have a spark
Hmm.
as such. So his Indian management really needs to improve. And other than that, like speaking of the lineup, I thought we put out our strongest 11, but the biggest risk we face by putting out our strongest 11 is that we reduce the possibility of one of our substitutes making an impact in the game, because there's nothing creative as such that can come off the bench and really change the course of the game. So yeah, it definitely wasn't the team I would have gone for personally.
So what kind of team would you have gone for?
I would have started Dan James over Greenwood personally. Although I know
Okay.
that Greenwood has been on a sort of a purple patch. He's been scoring goals. He's come off the bench a couple of times to really win us games. But I would have played James mainly because I know that the back of Villarreal isn't the fastest in the world.
Yeah.
And besides that, we saw in the first 20 minutes of the game where they couldn't play out of the back. And they were really stubborn. They really wanted to play out of the back, bring their midfielders into the game and build from there.
Yeah.
And while they were pressing, we really troubled them a lot. And Dan James is arguably the best presser of the ball we have at the club.
Yeah.
So it would have been really effective to throw him on from the start and maybe have Greenwood come on in the latter stages of the game, maybe take a half chance, who knows.
And Yash, on previous episodes, you've been pretty critical of Victor Lindelof. So if you were United manager, would you have dropped him?
So I think that like the conversation before the game was, that who's going to be starting with Lindelof. Is it going to be Bai or is it going to be Tuanzebe? And and it was pretty clear from the Wolves game itself that Lindelof was going to start the final because he basically rested the entire team that was going to start for the final, like against Wolves. So yeah, I personally, dropping him would have been a little out of the blue because Bai and Tuanzebe haven't really played that well, and not just Bai and Tuanzebe, but then again, Van Bissaka, De Gea, and Shaw. It would have been a really changed back four, so I can't really blame Oli for picking Lindelof. But then again, maybe he could have done better with Axel and Bai throughout the season, so as to they would have been much more sure in defense. Like if we were to drop Lindelof in the final, that is no secret that we have to get rid of Lindelof out of the first team. We need to find a good partner for Maguire. But in the final, I can't really blame Oli for picking Lindelof because that would have been too big of a change for a game of this scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And shots, finally, just to get done with discussing the final, what else do you think we got wrong? Maybe that we should keep in mind for next year, because we're gonna be playing more of these big games. We might not. I don't know if we might not play the Champions League final next year, but at least we'll be in the knockout rounds or something. So we are gonna have to learn this game management before it gets too late. So what else do you think we need to do going into next season?
We require a lot of muscle on our bench because if you saw what happened in the finals of Champions League, there were so many players on each of the team's benches. You could literally make another 11 out of them because it's such a good bench over there. Although even if we don't get the best players out there, we require competent players who Ole can actually trust, whom he thinks can change the scenario of a game in which, say, obviously that requires game sense, and also from like being a former super sub, he should understand, like he should have the trust that there's someone else who can be the super sub for this team as well. And we require players like them, like who can make an impact, like Karan was mentioning, who can make an impact, who can change the course of the game, say maybe not by the sheer technicality or skills, but just by putting a little more effort than what is there like previously on the pitch itself.
Absolutely. So I guess that's done. The final is out of the way. And now I think we can look back on the season. I mean, it would have been nice to win the Europa League, but I think we can still count it as a success, given the squad we have and given the squad Man City and Liverpool had and the money Chelsea spent. I think finishing second was really difficult. If you gave it to me at the start of the season, I would have taken it. I would have bit your hand off. But now for next season, I still don't think that we have closed the gap enough to win the league. But I think focusing on finishing in the top four will obviously be the first priority, but also then progressing in Europe and maybe doing better in the cups. Yes, we've reached the semi-finals, we've reached finals now, but maybe winning one of those cups and maybe even progressing the Champions League, say going to the quarterfinal. I think that is what we should be looking for. But as a whole, how do you guys see the season? Like, I'll come to you, Yash, first. How would you rate the season on a scale of 1 to 10?
I wouldn't give it as low as like a 4 or a 5, but I would give it like a 6.
Yeah.
Like we finished second, like that is a really good achievement, and that is progress in a way. But like, to be
Hmm.
completely unbiased, we also got a little bit lucky, Liverpool with their injuries, and Chelsea having Lampard for half the season.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the table at the end of the season, Liverpool just finished 5 points behind us with the injuries that they've had. So if
Yeah.
they would have had like a normal season, I think they would have comfortably finished second. But you can't take anything away from Oli and the squad. Like, even like as you said, the squad that we had, and we were playing like literally almost the same 11 week in week out, 3 games a week.
Hmm.
So yeah, Ollie's done well, but then again, the final loss is a bit of a sticking point. So yeah, an average 6 is good, but then yeah, we've also had a few bad games here and there. The Sheffield loss, the Arsenal loss, the draw against Everton, which in hindsight, if you look at those games, could have gotten us much closer to City than we finished right now, and it would have been much better season just if we had managed to convert those 3 games. Um, but overall, yeah, I mean, a 6 is what I would give the season. So not really great, but a good season in terms of progress. We got second in the league, but the only thing that would matter now is how we build on from this, because we finished second this year, but it's not going to be an easy job to finish even in the top four next year, given the quality that we have around us.
Certainly. And I think even I would probably give it a 6 or a 6.5. If we had won the Europa League, maybe it would go up to a 7.5. But it does kind of feel a bit sour at the end of the year, not having that piece of silverware. Shorts, what do you think? Where would you rate the season?
I'd rated as 6.5 or 7.
Okay.
If you would have gotten one silverware, it would have been 8.
Hmm.
See, the most disappointing parts for a season would be when how we got out of the Champions League. It was literally shambolic. I mean, at one point in time, I felt like not watching any of United's games because it was so poor in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Like, no one wanted to play for the badge point in time. I don't know. It may be because of the lack of preseason, or we being jettisoned in the Europa League the previous season, Corona and everything else which went on. But
Yeah.
then slowly the team came into force. We had a wonderful run of away. We had a very 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 good away form, but we were very poor at Old Trafford, and which is very problematic per se. Um, we had a lot of draws in cups. We did really well against Liverpool, but apart from that, we didn't put up a show against Leicester. We didn't do really well against City. Then you had Europa League final as well. So we could have, we didn't come clutch when it mattered the most. And if we could have converted a lot of those draws into say 3 points, we could have come out really in a good shape, much better morale, and something like the killer instinct which was there in previous United squads was missing over there. I'm not sure what happened, but I think in previous season, last season, we did really well against top six. We didn't do that well. I think we have only one win against the top six this season, and others were draws and one loss, if I'm not wrong. And we did get a lot of hope. We finishing second was really good. We cut down a lot of points in terms of the difference with us in City. But every year in Premier League is, again, something which is mind-boggling always, because it's so erratic, it's so exhilarating. Let's hope that we have a good summer, a good preseason with training with the players, and I hope we come up with some new tactics to actually involve all of our core players in certain aspects where they can actually showcase their skills and their unique attributes. Like Van de Beek can come in and break down low blocks. James works on his finishing a lot, and Bruno continues on the same vein. And whatever say you have given Van Bissaka, because he's been playing all of our games. I hope all of the other players can act on their regimen as well, and add to their diet so that they can also become workhorses like him.
Absolutely. And finally, to you, Karan, what do you think? Where will you rate the season?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give Ole a lot more credit than a couple of you guys. Like I would potentially give us an 8 or an 8.5, even though we didn't win a trophy. And there's a reason behind it. This season has been bonkers. Games every 2.5 to 3 days, been at it continuously without any breaks, without letting the manager work on a few new tactics and like really develop the team. Like to play every 3 days and to have our away record where we're undefeated throughout the season in the Premier League. Along with that, to come back from so many goal deficits and win, I think, 31 or 33 points from losing positions. It's something that it shows me that this team wants to go play a game, come back, recharge, go at it again, and stay motivated throughout the course of the season. And to do it every 3 days, and as often as we were going down to sides in the first half, I feel it's just really changed the mentality, and that mentality is going to take us far as a team. And even after the final, if you saw Rashford's interview, he constantly spoke about how saw 7 bruised and broken men in the dressing room that have been playing in pain for the past 6 months, every 3 days, and like performing so well, being so consistent, losing just 2 games uh, in the last 32 of the Premier League after losing 3 of the first 6. And out of those 2 losses, I think one was against Leicester where we played our second team. So I feel overall we've been very consistent. We've Ole has managed to keep the team motivated in situations, and in a normal season with additions in the summer, I feel we are definitely destined to win a couple of trophies next season.
Don't you think you're setting the bar too low if you're giving United an 8 for the season? Because I
Yeah,
feel that there's
potentially.
a lot more that could have been done that we didn't do. There's a lot we did, and that's why we are, on the higher side of it. But I think eight is far too much. I think you'll give probably Man City an 8.5.
No, I gave it an 8 and 8.5 mainly because of the mental aspect of it. I believe United had the toughest like run of fixtures when it came to the fatigue levels, like playing every 3 games. I think there was a moment where we ended up playing around 38 or 39 games over the course of 3.5 months. So it was like you're playing games almost every 3 days, and after 52 or 53 games of the season, we got our first week off. So in terms of the mentality to be so consistent, to be so motivated, I feel it's something that you can build on. The mental aspect of the game is really not spoken of enough, and I just want to credit Ole for that. The mental aspect. Okay, we can speak about how we didn't win a trophy, but let's be honest. Finish second in the league, make the finals for I believe it was the FA Cup, not wrong, or was it the Carabao?
It
Yeah,
was
so
the FA Cup.
yes, made the semis for the FA Cup, made the final of the Europa League. So just in terms of mentality, I want to credit the team a lot.
Absolutely, and you speak about mentality, and nobody exemplifies mentality more than Fernandes. And there's no surprise supporters player of the year, second running. But if I was to ask you guys who would your player of the year be, what would you say? I'll come to you first, Shots. Who's your player of the year?
Shaw. Shaw has been incredibly solid, incredibly like when he first came in, we thought that Shaw would be thawing away, but he's come back again and he's been really, really good. Apart from final, I don't Europa final. He's been so good throughout the season. He's been incredible.
What about you, Yash? Will you share that same perspective, or have you gone for Bruno, maybe Maguire?
For me, it's a close call between Shaw and Bruno. Like Maguire deserves a shout as well, but for me, it's between Shaw and Bruno. But based on like just the performances and numbers alone, Bruno kind of edges it out. But if you would, talk about the most, like, if Shaw has been brilliant this season. He's been one of our most consistent players and he's shown the most improvement. So in that sense, he might get player of the year. But yeah, if I were to name one player, it'd be Bruno. But Shaw gets like the most improved player for me.
I think that makes a lot of sense because we saw that supporters voted for Bruno, but then the players voted for Shaw. So I think in training and behind the scenes and on the pitch, they've realized how important Shaw has been because it goes without saying that when Bruno plays well, United play well. But Shaw has just really, really improved, and I agree with you. Even I would go for Bruno, but then I would also go for Shaw as the most improved player. And hopefully now he has a good Euros and does well for England, and then comes back stronger than ever next season for us. Karan, who would you go for? Would you go for Shaw or for Bruno?
It's really tricky because Bruno definitely in terms of his performances he deserves to be player of the year. But like the two of you said, the most improved player has to be Shaw, and maybe like trophy might be Van der Sar
Yeah,
to put in some 56 games in the season with no backup, no rest. It's really remarkable the level he plays at. But other than that, I deserves it. And Shaw most improved player.
definitely. And there's also going to be the PFA Player of the Year that will be announced in a few weeks. Now, I mean, the PFA Team of the Year. So for United, how many players do you think are going to make it? Because I think Shaw is the nailed on left back. I think Bruno will definitely make it. Do you guys see Maguire making it, or do you think they'll go for another centre back? Because I think Ruben Diaz is going for sure. So do you guys think Maguire is the other one, or do you think any other centre back has been better than him this season?
I think Maguire has a
I would
shout.
be tempted to put Maguire there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
go
mean
ahead. Go ahead.
just because of the sheer number of games he's played. So he didn't miss a single minute, uh, like until he got injured against I think it was Aston Villa. But like before, and it's not even like he's had a bad season. He hasn't had a great season either, but he's been a rock at the back. I mean, we saw how sorely we missed him against, like right after he was injured, and his like we keep complaining about Maguire is not a leader, Maguire is not a leader, but you know it shows that what kind of leaders we need because Maguire's presence was being missed on the pitch. So the kind of impact he had on the squad, yeah, based on that alone, he has a good shout in the PFA Team of the Year. But like maybe other centre backs, I can't really think of any which have had as good of a season as Ruben Diaz. So yeah, Maguire is a shout for me.
Yeah, Karan, you were saying something earlier.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to put Maguire beside Diaz. Like might go for 2 City, 2 United uh, with Cancelo, Diaz, Maguire, Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think Bruno makes the team. But besides that, yeah, I think only those two.
And what do you guys think about any other player that's probably gone for a that who have been getting enough credit. Like you obviously mentioned Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Shorts, is there any other player you feel who's season or he's the adulation that he's deserved?
Um, I uh, I think Dean Henderson has been good, not as great as he was with Sheffield, but when Dea was absent from our team, he actually picked up really well, and he almost consolidated his position. Although some of the goals that he has conceded was taste, but he's been doing well.
Yeah. And what do you guys think about
Yeah.
Paul Pogba? Because I feel that people are quick to criticize him, but whenever he's played this season, I think he's done really well. He's obviously had a few on and off games, but I think given everything that was going on with his agent linked to an exit, I think he's really done well to put all of that aside and put some good performances. Nobody thought he would be as good on the left wing as he has been, and I think he's arguably been our best left winger this season. You can make a case for Rashford, but I feel that in terms of consistency, he's not really been there. And Pogba has really, I think he's really, for a change, had a good 6 or 8 months in a United jersey, which I haven't seen for the last 4 or 5 years. What do you guys think about his season?
Yeah, but before speaking about Pogba, let's just take a moment to appreciate Scott McTominay this season.
Absolutely.
Goals from midfield. He was man of the match for us, hands down in the final. And overall, he's just been there for the team, resistant, been working his butt off for the team. So yeah, Scott McTominay deserves a lot of credit this season. But like
And
to answer your question, Pogba, it's always he's just it's so difficult to judge Pogba based on his time at United because it's always been a case of what he can do and not what he's doing. So although the season he's been good, it's the best he's been playing since the season. And yeah, you could be content, but having said that, would you want to give him the premium contract to keep him here? Debatable. Like I wouldn't personally. So
I mean,
yeah,
if we are getting a good transfer fee for him, maybe not. But given the market today, I don't really see too many clubs going for him. So
yeah, but like
if you're not really signing anyone like in that position, maybe we can just hold on to him. I mean, that is only if we are not getting good money for him. And from what I read, I don't think we are.
yeah, United could be better off cashing in on Pogba. Maybe it could be through a swap deal or anything. But like there needs to be a way to get get him out of the club this season because I personally don't want him to sign a new contract because he'll probably ask for 500,000 a season.
Yeah.
He'll
Yeah,
Right.
definitely not. I mean, that will just mess up our wage structure, which it's already pretty bad. So
and
we just
and
don't want to take further.
he's not worth it. Like you
Yeah,
tell me to pay Mbappe 500,000 a season. I'd say give him 50K more just for coming. So,
exactly. Yeah.
but I wouldn't do that for Pogba. I would rather invest in a defensive midfielder, let him sit back while Van de Beek and Bruno can build their connection. But yeah, I think it's time for Pogba to leave.
And
I
yes, what do
think
you think? Has there
yeah,
been? Yeah.
yeah, I think Pogba is Paul Pogba is the kind of player that he needs to bring the best out of Paul Pogba. You need like world class players around him. He's not the kind of player that will single handedly carry a team, like
Yeah.
Bruno has done or some other world class players have done. So for him to be demanding like a 500,000 wage, which is rumored, is what Riola wants, is a little bit unfair on the other members, especially Bruno. He is just on 100K a week.
Yeah.
So, and the best of Paul Pogba, credit to him, like since Mino has come out and done all the bullshit that he has done before the game against Leipzig. Since then, Pogba has been very good, and he's been really good off the left wing. But then again, his best games have come when Pogba, Bruno, Cavani, and Shaw, all of these players have been playing together.
Yeah.
So he's being given that creative freedom. So they're not marking Paul Pogba, they're not marking Bruno Fernandes. They have to the opposition team. They can't just mark one
Hmm.
player. So that it gives both of them the freedom to you know be more creative. And because he's playing on the left wing, he doesn't even have to worry much about the defensive side of things, because essentially when he plays on the left wing, we're playing with Fred and McTominay. So, the defensive part of it, which we all know that he's not really good at and he doesn't even like doing. So he's free from all of that. And it's a similar thing that we see in France as well. So he has Kante next to him and he's like 3, 4 world-class players in front of him. He's not the kind of player that, who would, carry France to the World Cup trophy. So for him to be demanding again, like a 500,000 wage is a little bit unfair and unwarranted actually. But again, we are not really in a position to demand like 50, 60 million for him in this market because of the wages that he's going to be demanding. But if we are able to somehow get him off for that fee, that would be a good deal. But like then again, it leaves a hole in our squad, which it's a difficult hole to fill because he's one of our most creative players. But he's had a good season since Mino came out and started talking about his future. So overall, he's had a good season, but nowhere near, like I wouldn't put him anywhere near like Shaw or Bruno, or even, to be honest, even like Maguire for that matter.
Absolutely. And I think on that note, we shall say goodbye for this episode. I mean, thank you guys for joining me. Thanks to everyone for listening. And please do give us a follow on Twitter. We have Karan Advani managing our Twitter page really well. He's talking about everything, not just United. He's talking about things going on in the Euro. He's talking about the Copa America. He's talking about players linked to United, why they'll be good fit, why they'll be bad fit. So I think you must follow our Twitter page. You all must also follow our Insta page. And we've been getting a few DMs from you guys, so we appreciate the feedback. And please keep it coming. And if anyone wants to join the show, please let us know. But guys, thanks for joining me. It's been another great episode, and I hope to see you all soon.